Haruki. Listen, I thought I'd have some Chinese food. Huh? Am I an idiot? I'm getting carried away.
What do you want me to do about it?
It's nothing. I just called you by mistake. It's not like I need you to call me back. You're persistent. Like hell I'd answer. He's late. If he comes now, I'll be sleep deprived again. I wish he'd think about the trouble he's causing people.
I apologize for my late call. I'm Kitahara of Ensemble's editing department of Kyosha. I'm always very obliged to work with you, though I'm gradually returning to working back at my workplace. One can't deny that my new tendency to take my work home with me is a big side effect of my current assignment. Regarding the thing I asked you about the other day, I'm incredibly grateful for your endorsement. Yes, now, about the date and time, and about how we'll go about it. I booted up my laptop 2 minutes after I went through the front door. I then took 1 minute to check my email, and 30 minutes to respond to everyone. Then came phone calls for urgent matters. We'll do it that way then. You're right. We should avoid letting anyone but staff inspect. I'm terribly sorry, but that's what her own office said. I'm aware that there are a lot of security concerns, but once I get into the habit, I can't stop like it's some sort of drug. Yes, then I'll visit along with another person on the day. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later. It's not like I don't feel that I'm moving in a bad direction as far as workload is concerned, but since I'm still young, I still can't fully grasp that. I wouldn't want to turn 30 and suddenly kick the bucket. Hello? I apologize for my late call. I'm Kitahara. I sent you a letter the other day and... Oh, you remember me? I see. I'm sorry for not having written anything in such a long time.
What is he doing? If you're not coming, you could at least let me know.
What? You doubt me? Do you think there's no way that I'm popular with men?
Now that I'm done with all my various business calls, I'm busy finishing the work that has piled up.
Compared to where I lived, lots of men approached me when I was on concert tours with my mom, especially in France.
First is the transcription of the interview last night that was left undone due to a certain circumstance.
Paris used to be Mom's base of activity, so I get plenty of attention by being Toma Yoko's daughter, though not as much as in Japan.
Ever since I started covering Kazusa, I finished the transcriptions of all of the interviews on the same day I did them.
Anyway, there was this independent conductor, a Frenchman in his mid-30s. Apparently, he was Mom's lover when he was young.
The sound of Kazusa's voice coming out of the speaker is completely identical to what I heard yesterday. Yeah, I don't think he could be Kazusa's father. He'd have to be like... maybe if she... Wait, no. Kazusa's like 23 now. He's in his mid-30s. He would be 41 if he had sex with Yoko 18 years... or when Kazusa... Oh, no, 42 because 9 months and all that too. Yet, I stopped typing and listened intently countless times anyway.
I thought he already had both money and status thanks to Mom. Yet, he had the nerve to flirt with me. Was he trying to get lucky with both mother and daughter?
The recordings of yesterday's interview is especially hard to listen to, causing me to brood rather than type, which has an awful effect on my work efficiency. I usually manage to compile all my interviews before 4 a.m. despite all that, but I don't even know when I'll be able to finish this today.
When we were dancing at a party, he whispered dirty things in my ear about wanting to be alone with me. Or about how I looked exactly like Yoko when she was young.
The truth is, I wanted to see Kazusa again. No, I wanted to visit Kazusa's apartment. No, I wanted to continue with the interview. Looking at the clock, I see that it's long past midnight. It's not commendable, but I won't be able to do any interviews today.
He said something about wanting to return the favor he owed Yoko to me. That he'd let me play the piano as part of his orchestra in exchange for the key to my room.
Well, whatever. I've been doing them every day up until now. And besides, Kazusa has started to dislike having me persistently follow her around. Even today, she called me herself, yet she never answered when I called her back countless times. She's probably dealing with a lot of irrational stress. In that case, I should put some distance between us for a day, and I'm sure she'll agree to that as well.
He was getting on my nerves, obviously, so I kicked him in the balls the moment the song ended.
January 23rd, Wednesday.
Like I said, I'm only using common sense here. Don't get the wrong idea about that.
I've apologized countless times already, haven't I? It's Wednesday. Kazusa's been constantly criticizing me on our way to our destination. She's been babbling about my dishonesty and skipping our interview without calling her about it last night.
I don't like the way you apologize. It's like you don't think you're in the wrong. It's as if I'm the one picking a quarrel.
That wasn't my intention.
I don't care that you didn't come. It's just that you should contact me about it first. Didn't I tell you that?
Is that so?
Now that there's only a week until my concert, I'm short on time. Can you imagine my thoughts when I'm being made to waste sleep hours? It only takes a second of thinking to figure that out.
I'm sorry. I promised to call when I'm going over to interview her, not when I'm not going, right? I called her as soon as I got home, every time I planned on going over, didn't I? Common sense dictates that if I hadn't called, even when the hour is late, I'm not going. Wasn't I the one who suggested we should hold off on the interviews until the concert was over? And wasn't it you who wanted it over quickly? Sound arguments like that will only have the opposite effect on Kazusa, irritated as she is. I know this from experience, so I merely keep apologizing. Of course, I don't mean any of it.
I never thought the day would come when I'd lecture you, Haruki. This is your job, so get it together.
Yeah, I understand. If I said yes, now, I'm certain she'd answer with, "A single yes is enough." So I restrained myself. But I'm in such a foul mood right now that I might just be able to withstand that. And Kazusa is angry enough to not overlook that.
What were you even doing yesterday?
I was working, compiling our interview from yesterday, and also contacting different news sources.
Why do you have to do all that right away? Aren't you getting your priorities wrong?
All the articles must be published by Friday. Well, I suppose I had a day or two to spare.
See? So you're using your time wrong. You should have come over yesterday after all.
Kazusa. But is her angry fully based on reason? Didn't she dislike having me persistently follow her around? Right now, Kazusa is acting as if she wants to tear off the very shackles that she bound herself with.
Are you trying to avoid me or something? So, it's not just me, but you too who's trying to avoid contact? That's just cruel.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's okay for you to avoid me, but I'm not allowed to avoid you?
What's up with that logic? I don't get it at all. Am I supposed to be one-sidedly toyed with? Stop screwing around. Who's the cruel one here? How much do you have to make me suffer until you're satisfied? But I really had to finish up the coordination with the news sources last night. No, not really. Let's hold back my tear-filled complaints about work for today. After all,
Why?
do you know where you're heading right now? Now I'm able to satiate my desire for revenge a tiny bit.
Of course I don't know. You haven't told me, no matter how many times I asked.
When we got off at Iwazocho Station, Kazusa glared at me through the fake glasses at first. But when I took off in the opposite direction of the former Tomo residence, she started trotting after me with a somewhat disappointed expression. It appears that she didn't feel anything from the fact that our destination is close to the former Tomo residence. Apparently, all her children have moved out and gotten married now. She's living alone with her retired husband now.
Huh?
In fact, ever since last year, she's become unable to work any strenuous jobs after injuring her hip.
What is this about?
I inquired with Yoko-san's office, and they told me her contact details. They told me they still get New Year's cards from her.
From who?
Look, we're here. Press the intercom button. I also think you should take off that disguise.
Huh?
In perfect accordance with my plans. When I point to a certain house in a quiet residential area, Kazusa covers her face with both her hands and opens her eyes wide through her glasses. They said she's still able to cook. She's been at it with an amazing vigor since yesterday. The house with a nameplate reading Shibata.
You're probably thinking about how you got me fooled. You're laughing on the inside, knowing that you managed to trick me, aren't you?
Why did you guess right?
I thought I'd never see her again.
That's called ingratitude. And even though you came all the way back to Japan, how many years did you think you've been in that person's care?
I know that. I know, but...
Then Kazusa pressed the doorbell. A near elderly woman with a big smile on her face came out from inside the house. Even though I've only met her once, I still feel somewhat moved about her aged appearance. Compared to 5 years ago, her hair was whiter, and she had lost some weight. The helper Shibata-san, who remained with the Toma household until the very end, even when Kazusa was the only one left in that residence. She still came by twice a week to clean up and do the laundry. Not to mention making sure Kazusa got proper nutrition.
But I'm supposed to have abandoned all my memories here in Japan.
That's not what she had in mind at all, it seems. She still kept all of your old pictures.
But I'm sure I burned all of those when I started high school.
I'm sure she secretly took all of those back. Probably because she knew the culprit would regret it, eventually.
Shut up.
The two people who welcomed us in were the only two people still living in that house, Mr. and Mrs. Shibata. Mrs. Shibata was still the talkative and affable person I once met 5 years ago when she was still working for the Toma household. But according to what her husband told me later, she hadn't been this gleeful in a really long time. But those thoughts were almost identical to my own feelings, because this was the first time I've ever seen Kazusa laugh so heartily since our reunion. Feeling moved by that, I smirked a little myself, which earned me a sharp glare from Kazusa. The sight of that caused the rest of us to laugh, which made Kazusa blush in embarrassment. Those 2 hours reminiscing about some family-centric soap opera felt like they went by in a flash.
How is that supposed to be coverage? All we did was visit some household and have dinner with them.
It was excellent coverage. A true harvest. You mean that album? My old one? That too, but that's about 30% of the reason. After all, I got to see Kazusa with short hair. The truth is that I did want to record that, and I did want to take pictures.
How obscene of you. You're the worst for involving regular people too.
That's why I didn't do it, right? Taking pictures of you crying.
It's bad enough you even thought about it.
It happened when both the dinner and the friendly chat was over, and when everyone noticed the hour was getting late. Mrs. Shibata, who had been in very high spirits up until then, suddenly burst into tears. Then she apologized to Kazusa while she was still crying. She apologized for not being able to do anything for Kazusa when she was left all alone. Back when Kazusa shut herself off from society, abandoning even the piano. When she distanced herself more and more from her surroundings, and eventually from even herself. She apologized for not being able to scold or admonish her, for not being able to do anything but to clean and do the laundry, for not even being able to make food for her, for knowing how both Yoko-san and Kazusa felt, yet not being able to smooth anything out between them.
The train on line 2 is approaching. Please stand behind the yellow line.
During those 3 years between 8 years ago and 5 years ago, Kazusa wasn't the only one left with a wound. The people who failed to help the sulky delinquent girl improve were afflicted with similar wounds. Those might have just been the ramblings of an elderly person. Her husband told me she had been tearing up quite a lot recently. After 5 years, her happy memories and her painful memories might have just been mixed up. But there is no denying that Miss Shibata felt true sorrow earlier. She felt warm, sincere tears that made me think that she must have felt the same way back then, too. It has to be the truth. Otherwise, Kazusa wouldn't have been moved to tears by a tale straight out of a soap opera. I'm sure that back then, Kazusa would have described that person as a stranger hired for money, someone who wasn't blood related to her. She would never hug someone she views as just an employee, or laugh and cry with her. Even I've never seen her shed tears filled with so much positivity before. That's why I felt a sense of jealousy creeping up within me, even as I felt moved by the heartwarming scene. After all, while I have made Kazusa cry before, she never smiled at me simultaneously when I was the one who brought her to tears. And I doubt she ever will.
Are you trying to make me uncomfortable?
Why would you think that? Until we got on the train with Kazusa wearing her usual disguise, she remained silent for a while. And just when I thought she had started speaking again, it was more criticism about me. Just like when we departed from my apartment.
That's foul play. That...
You mean bringing forth a witness to show that your painful past was all your own fault? But this time, I accept her criticisms head on. Your concert will begin soon, so I wanted to make you feel better. Let's just leave it at that. I did plan a surprise attack worthy of criticism, and I don't think she's wrong in doing so.
You really are the worst. Your way of getting at me is premeditated, malicious, and cowardly. I've never met a more cruel person in my whole life.
Is that so?
All of my first experiences have been based around you.
That way of putting it is going to cause misunderstandings.
What misunderstandings? Where am I wrong?
Well, Kazusa presses her hat down and hides her face behind it. It seems somewhat different from her usual precaution to make sure no one recognizes her. Perhaps this remedy was too effective. It's the truth that I wanted to make Kazusa feel better, and I did believe that this would be for Kazusa's sake. But I can't say in good faith that it was solely for Kazusa's sake. Neither can I say that it was for the sake of my job. I just wanted to see her in action. After experiencing the awkward atmosphere surrounding us, and Kazusa's stubbornness towards me, I wanted to drive it all away. I wanted to see the sincere Kazusa again. To a certain degree, I knew what the result would be, and I knew that it wouldn't be a good result. Sorry. While I'm absorbed in thought, I accidentally brushed the tips of my fingers against Kazusa. Huh? Kazusa?
What?
Nothing. There's no doubt that Kazusa noticed it, because when our pinky fingers touched, Kazusa's finger suddenly stiffened. But when I apologized, Kazusa breathed a deep sigh for some reason. What's that supposed to mean? But that uncertainty is dispelled the moment the train shakes again. The reason our fingers touched isn't because I unintentionally came closer to her. Kazusa?
Shut up.
Kazusa is the one who came closer to me, intentionally.
Just for a moment. Just for a short moment.
Now, I understand that.
Until the next station.
Because before, it was just our fingers that were intertwined. But now I can feel her entire palm. Until we get off the train. Along with those words, all of our fingers entwined. Until we reach the apartment. Along with those words, we strengthened our grip of each other, to the point that we had a hard time letting go when it was time to part. What are we doing? What in the world are we doing? Kazusa told me not to make Setsuna sad. In order to keep that vow, she made herself suffer so deeply that she couldn't take it anymore. In order to keep that vow, she made herself suffer so deeply that she couldn't keep it anymore. Tell me, Kazusa, is this really the correct choice? Are we really not mistaken? That question, along with the warmth and sweat of Kazusa's palm, dissipates into nothingness. January 25th, Friday.
It's been a while since we were here last. Have we ever been here? A mere 2 years ago, during my New Year's concert. I see. You were in the audience back then, but this time you'll be on the stage and taking on the massive crowd by yourself. I know that already. And where's the enthusiasm? There's nothing that you can do that I can't. You're starting to annoy me. Just kidding. I don't feel anything in particular. I've played in concert halls this big plenty of times back home, and I don't see this as some triumphant return to Japan either. It wouldn't hurt to see it that way, though. You may say that, but I only have bad memories in Japan, mainly because of someone I'm related to. Well, whatever. This may not be for the sake of the Japanese people, but as long as it's a genuine performance for the sake of a single person, I'm satisfied. I have no idea what you're talking about, but if you're letting me play, then let me start already. I have to be out of here by 3 o'clock. Is it a date? No, an interview. So it is a date after all. Hey, Mom. A lot of things have happened ever since I came to Japan. No, even before that. A lot of things indeed. But this time, on top of having digested all of that, I feel like I can pull off my greatest performance up until now. If you tell me that every time, I'd be very relieved as your producer. I wonder about that. You can look forward to hearing that next time. Everything's going according to plan so far. I wonder how we'll put a bow on all this once the concert is over. There's Not a lot of time left. Actually, I wonder if we can put a bow on this.
I see. You work for a publishing company now, Kirahara. To think the day would come when you're interviewing me. Yeah, well, I'm sorry for not staying in touch, Suwa-sensei. The somewhat annoying guidance counselor I haven't met in 2 years. Oh, I see. Still, this does take me back. You were at the top of your grade and gave a speech during the entrance ceremony after being accepted here, right? I still remember it like it was yesterday, you know?
Thank you very much. It seems he has forgotten about our meeting 2 years ago completely. So he repeats the same speech from back then, word for word.
Yeah, but I have to say, Toma-san's become really amazing, huh?
Yeah, she really has.
Our current students seem to be getting pretty ambitious too. After all, our very own music program has proven itself to be worthy of world fame.
She was in the music program until her second year, but due to bad behavior, she was kicked out of the program. Though I suppose all those negative memories have disappeared from this person's mind in these past 2 years.
Of course, part of the credit goes to her lineage to Tomoyoko, along with her special education for gifted children. However, the ones who supported Tomo-san up to the world stage were undoubtedly the achievements and traditions of the Hojo High School music program.
I'm sorry, regarding the thing I asked you about?
Oh, yeah, right. If we don't get it over with quickly, the sun will set after all.
Things were starting to reach the boiling point with this historically revisionist speech. So I decided to hasten the conversation. Of course, it wasn't me who was nearing the boiling point.
Here, this is the key. Students were forbidden from using the room today, so use it without reservation until 6 p.m., that is.
Thank you very much. Then I'll do just that.
By the way, who is that young lady over there?
I haven't introduced you two yet. This is our new specialist cameraman in charge of photography.
I'm Tono Kazumi. Nice to meet you.
Didn't I tell you not to greet him with obvious contempt?
What is up with Suwa? So, he's still around.
He told me he might get the vice principal's seat next year. He wrote that to me in an email, even though I didn't ask him about it.
Besides, that guy couldn't stand the very sight of me. Yet now he's all like, Toma-san! I felt a chill go down my spine.
I would have fully agreed with you if this happened 2 years ago. Having just met a teacher she owes a lot to, if he could even be considered that, in a long time. I wonder if Kazusa's feeling tense because she's overwhelmed with nostalgia. Same goes for the teacher. He might not have seen her for 5 years, but to think he wouldn't be able to see through her disguise. When I saw that they put Toma Kazusa's image on the advertisements for the school, I can only pray she doesn't file charges. So, what do you think? Coming back to your alma mater?
Nothing in particular.
Don't you feel nostalgic at the sight of all the desks you kicked, the walls you punched, and the windows you broke?
Just what kind of person am I in your memories?
She might boast about not being interested in the slightest, but I can see through her glasses how her wide open eyes look from one place to another.
I don't feel any nostalgia. I have nothing but bad memories here.
That's what people call nostalgia. Hojo High School. This is our place of coverage for today. In order to expose everything about Kazusa and to engrave it all upon my heart. The place for my coverage that I've been planning since a few days ago. A place absolutely necessary for us. And somewhere extremely dangerous. It's been 5 years, but Kazusa remembers everything about the layout. While talking to me, or hurling abuse at me, she never got lost once, guiding me to our destination.
Haruki,
Key? Oh, right, just as Kazusa ordered me, or rather how my plan went in the first place. I put the key in the keyhole. The lock opened right away. But the door won't open so easily. In fact, it won't open at all.
open it.
Right. Is this really okay? Are we really okay with entering this room with just the two of us? Is it really okay?
It's been a while. Have you been okay? I haven't contacted you for a while, so I can't help sounding a bit formal. But have you been well? It's been such a long time since we were apart for this long, so I can't help feeling worried. Though the one who decided we shouldn't meet and the one who still hasn't come to see you is none other than me. Despite that, the reason I'm sending you a text like this today is because I have some news. The truth is, I'm going on a business trip to Kansai today. I'll be going around a lot of different shops during the weekend, and I'm planning on coming home by Monday. I've always looked at you with envy as you fly around the country, doing your best, Haruki-kun. Perhaps with this, I can catch up to you a little bit. I want to give you a souvenir when I'm back from my business trip. That's why I'm thinking of calling you on Monday. Let me talk about all kinds of things when that time comes, if possible. I want to reconcile too. Now then, I'll be doing my best on my business trip. I won't work any less hard than you, Haruki-kun. P.S. Since this is how it is, I won't be in Tokyo this Sunday, so I won't be able to attend Kazusa's concert. You said you weren't going, Haruki-kun, but I actually managed to get some tickets. I was planning on going to listen to Kazusa play. If possible, I wanted to go with you, Haruki-kun. You might be wondering why I decide something like that on my own. You might even be angry at me. I'm sorry, but if I was going, I absolutely needed you with me because I didn't want you to go to Kazusa's concert alone, Haruki-kun. Because I know how you will feel if you go listen to Kazusa's performance alone. Your heart will leave me, and it'll be sucked in by her playing. I know that. This is no good. If I send this, I'm sure Haruki-kun will be... But... But if I do,
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Kazusa had a nice visit with her old helper, bringing back some old memories. Good to see that Kazusa still remembers her fondly. Setsuna, on the other hand, is worried that Haruki will go to the concert, since she knows what will happen to Haruki if he hears Kazusa's music again.